you go
Okay,
back
ma'am.
to the first slide, right? See here, there is
Yes, ma'am.
cough with expectoration for the past 3 months. What do you think? It's a chronic respiratory illness.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and fever also for the past 3 months. And another dreaded symptom is blood stain sputum. Okay, that is hemoptysis. Okay, all these three complaints the patient has come. Can this be respiratory system or cardiac system?
Most likely, the respiratory system would be involved, ma'am.
Why do you say so?
Because of cough with expectoration, ma'am. Usually,
Okay.
expectoration involves parenchymal involvement, so I would
Okay.
expect. And
Yeah.
and a bloodstained sputum is also positive for a respiratory disease, ma'am.
Okay. Can it occur in CVS also? These symptoms: cough with
Uh,
expectoration, fever, bloodstained sputum. Yes or no?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, possible. Yes or
Yes, ma'am.
no?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So it is possible. Now we'll talk something about cough. Okay. Right,
Okay,
Swata.
ma'am.
Can you define what is cough?
Ma'am, cough is a characteristic sound that is produced by the forceful expulsion of air against an initially closed glottis, ma'am.
Yes, it is a forceful expiration against closed glottis. See, whenever the patient coughs, no, there is increased intrathoracic pressure when the glottis open forcefully. So that is trying to expel whatever is inside, whatever is irritating the respiratory mucosa. Okay, and if you see the creation, the nature, so God has given us filters at different levels. If you take the nostrils, the nares, you have got what protection at this level?
We've got cilia, ma'am, and the
No, no, not
mucus.
cilia. No, 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 no.
Mucus.
Before that, at the level of the nose, no, the nostrils, we have got hair. No, this hair,
Yes.
okay, can trap the foreign bodies. Yes. So the next level is the nasal mucosa, the posterior one third, okay, which is devoid of hair and it is sticky because of the mucus production. So any foreign body which is inhaled is stuck in the mucosa. Okay, and next comes our muco. Before that, the cough reflex. No, whatever is inhaled in, no, by cough we try to expel. Even beyond this, if any foreign body goes, how it is expelled? Any idea? Vishnu, can you tell us? Vishnu?
Ma'am,
Yeah, so beyond the level of pharynx, okay, nasopharynx and pharynx, okay, if any foreign body goes into our respiratory system, how the defense mechanism acts? Yes?
ma'am,
Yeah.
I
Yes,
don't
Vishnu?
know. Ma'am, I don't know, ma'am.
You don't know. Okay. Vinod Kumar, you want to try? Vinod Kumar?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. You want to try?
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, could you repeat the question, ma'am?
See, I told you there are different levels of filters which act as a defense mechanism for any human being. We said about the nasal hair, the nasal mucosa, the cough reflex,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and into our lower respiratory tract, any other defense mechanism we have got. Okay, no problem. I will
Um,
explain. See, if you take the respiratory system, it is divided into an upper airway and a lower airway. See, you all know the upper airway is contaminated, whereas the lower airway is always sterile. So the demarcation is, the anatomical demarcation is cricoid cartilage. So at the level of cricoid cartilage, above the level of the cricoid is upper airway, which is contaminated, whereas the lower airway is kept sterile. How it is kept sterile? By the mucociliary apparatus. See, we have got a mucus layer upon which we have got ciliated columnar epithelium. So this like an escalator, you know, the escalator which you see. Okay, so like an escalator, it moves at a particular speed. Similarly, the cilia also will beat upwards at a particular rate per second. Okay, so when it goes up, so the mucus can trap the foreign body. Not only that, the escalator moves up. Okay, and the cilia also try to push the foreign body above. Okay, so when it comes, the cilia, when it goes up, by our innate cough reflex, we cough it out. So that is the exact mechanism which is lost in which syndrome? Sushmita. Sushmita, in which syndrome this is lost? And they are prone for recurrent infection, lower respiratory tract infections, leading on to bronchiectasis. Can anyone tell?
Cystic fibrosis, ma'am.
Cartagena syndrome, ma'am.
Yeah, Cartagenous syndrome.
Young
Cartagenous
syndrome.
syndrome. Okay, in Cartagenous, the triad of Cartagenous, I think you all know, the bronchiectasis, dextrocardia, and frontal sinusitis. Okay, so here the cilia is gone. It is not functioning properly. Obviously, any foreign body which comes to the lower airway, so the lower airway is made unsterile. So there are infections. So whenever there is infection, irritation to the mucosa, what happens? There is cooling of secretion and inflammation. So because of the inflammation, the cartilage, there are so many divisions. If you take bronchiectasis, about 5 to 9 generations of divisions occur at the level of from the main bronchus to the terminal and respiratory bronchiole. There are so many divisions which exponentially increase in size bilaterally. Okay, so whenever there is infection, there is inflammation, so there is destruction of the cartilage, there is cooling of secretion. So again, this is like a vicious cycle. Whenever there is cooling of secretion, there is superadded infection, there is destruction of the cartilage, again, there is infection. Like that is the important pathogenesis which we see in bronchiectasis, right? So, what are the different cough means? What all you will ask? See, the patient comes to you and tells, Doctor, எனக்கு 3 மாசமா இருமல் இருக்கு. What all you will ask the patient? Whenever the patient, when the symptom is cough. Swarna.
Ma'am, we'll ask if it's productive or non-productive, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, whether it's a dry cough or a non-productive cough or a productive cough. Yes. If it is going to be a dry cough, what all you will think? If it is going to be a productive cough, what all you will think? Okay.
If it's a productive cough, I would think of an airway or a parenchymal involvement, ma'am. If it's a dry
Don't
cough,
say airway and all. First, you think of parenchyma. Whenever there is a
Okay.
productive cough, the parenchyma is involved. Okay? Right. That will be the first answer given by you. Then, yes.
dry cough, I would think of the interstitial involvement, ma'am, like interstitial lung diseases,
Very good.
fibrosis.
Yes, it is typically the prototype is ILD, interstitial lung disease. See, if you take interstitial lung disease, it is a restricted disease. Whereas if you take COPD, bronchial asthma, bronchiectasis, all these are obstructive airway disease. Whereas here ILD is called as a restrictive airway disease where the interstitium is involved. Okay, here again it is a chronic process. Patient will give history of chronic cough, months together, ongoing dyspnea. Okay, if you examine the patient, he can have pan-digital clubbing, he can have cyanosis. If you auscultate, you pick up what typical crackles in ILD?
Velcro crackles.
Velcro crackle, very good. Velcro crackle is pathognomonic of ILD in the lower aspects, in infrascapular regions. You pick up Velcro crackles, that is pathognomonic of ILD. What are the other causes of dry cough?
We could ask for chronic drug intake like ACE inhibitors, ma'am.
No, before that. Any other anatomical structure you will think of when the patient complains of dry cough apart from ILD? You can think of pleural.
Plural.
You can think of pleural. You can think of mediastinal problems. Okay, they can have cough, but it need not be productive. It will be a dry cough. Okay, what is bovine cough?
Ma'am, bovine cough is a prolonged feeble cough, ma'am. It's seen in case of recurrent laryngeal nerve palsy where the vocal cord won't be able to adduct and hence will produce a characteristic sound.
Yeah, here, if you take bovine cough, it's absolutely due to the left recurrent laryngeal paralysis because of any mass or compression, whatever it may be. Here, the cough, the explosive quality of the cough is lost. Okay, explosive quality of the cough is lost. That's why it is called as bovine cough. Okay. What do you mean by brassy cough? Brassy. Brassy
Ma'am,
cough.
it's a metallic sounded
Yes.
cough, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's due to
Yes.
tracheal compression.
Yes. So any extraneous compression of the major airways can cause metallic cough. Yes. Okay. Any other cough? What do you mean by 100 days cough? What is called as
Whooping
100
cough.
days? Whooping cough. Excellent. Otherwise called as pertussis, which is a vaccine preventable disease in newborns. Okay. We give triple antigen DPT. P is meant for pertussis, which if not given, no, the child is suffering from whooping cough. Whooping cough, otherwise called as pertussis. Okay. Then any other cough You said something.
Barking cough, ma'am.
What is that? What is barking cough?
It's due to laryngeal involvement.
Or even epiglottitis, okay? It can cause
Yes.
laryngeal. Mainly it is laryngeal. Barking cough is mainly due to laryngeal involvement. Yes, laryngitis. There may be associated voice change also. Okay? Then anything else can cause cough? Any other cough?
Chronic smoking, ma'am.
Yes.
Moist cough.
Smokers can have cough. Yes, early morning cough because of chronic bronchitis. Asthmatics can have nocturnal cough. Okay, what all causes nocturnal cough? Cough at night. Daytime patient is very normal. Okay, cough only at
Yes.
night. Can you list some causes? One is
Paroxysmal nocturnal
very good.
dyspnea.
Yes, left heart failure. One PND. Then bronchial asthma.
Tropical eosinophil.
Tropical eosinophilia, very good. In worm infestation, ascariasis or whatever, eosinophilia. So the child which can have normal, she will be playing all around daytime. During night, the child starts coughing continuously. It can be because of tropical eosinophilia. Anything else?
Postnasal drip, ma'am.
Postnasal drip, yes. Whenever the patient lies down, so the secretions from the sinuses, it trickles down at some clever patients can tell you something going behind or my posterior pharynx, okay, that can irritate the airway causing nocturnal cough. Yes, anything else? Can you tell me the abdominal cause
Gastroesophageal
of cough? Abdominal cause or GI cause?
gastroesophageal reflux disease.
GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Again, an obese individual, a smoker and an alcoholic, lies down. So, because the acid content, so it reflexes because of the lax lower esophageal sphincter. So, everything it can go up. The acid contents can irritate the airway. Not only the airway, it can go even up to cause laryngitis. Okay. Even it can destroy the teeth. Enamel dysfunction is also reported in a rare case. Okay, so that extent it can go up. So the dreaded complication of GERD is what? Chronic GERD can cause what?
Barrett's esophagus.
Very good. Yeah. So there is Barrett's esophagus, which is a pre-malignant condition which can lead on to see esophagus in later days. Chronic GERD. Okay. Then anything else? Any other cough? Drug cough, drug-induced cough. Tell me about drug.
ACE inhibitors, ma'am.
ACE inhibitors like enalapril, captopril, perindopril, lisinopril, all prils. Okay. It can cause cough. Why? Why the drug should
Because
cause
of increased bradykinin.
bradykinin. So it's a very important drug. So if you can't prefer this, see, one patient came to my clinic, okay, years back. She said, "Doctor, I'm a hypertensive, okay, and I have cough for the past 1 month. 1 month the patient is having cough. When I inquired, she said dry cough. When I saw her prescription given by some other doctor, it had enalapril. So what I did is stop the drug. So next 2 days she is symptom free. See, that is where is the physician. So you go through the drugs which they are taking. Okay. So drug-induced cough. So you can replace such drugs with ARBs because it's a very important group of drug which is needed. Okay. So we can prefer angiotensin receptor blockers instead of angiotensin converter engine blockers. Okay. Right. Then proceed. Yes, ma'am.
History of present.
Chief sound. Again, we go back. Yeah, fever. Respiratory case, okay, we are dealing with the respiratory system. What is the age of the patient?
He's 55, ma'am.
55 years, okay. Almost above middle age we can think. And here, there is fever. Cough with fever. What all you can think? Cough with fever.
Pneumonia, ma'am.
Okay, but 3 months, that you should keep it in mind, okay? See,
Yes,
pneumonia can come in 2 or 3 days, no? The patient becomes toxic, tachypneic, dehydrated, highly toxic, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas here it is
TB,
3
ma'am.
months. Huh?
TB.
Yeah, tuberculosis. Definitely, first in our setup, you will think of tuberculosis. See, in any patient who complains of cough more than 2 weeks, with fever, evening rise of temperature, with night sweats, with loss of weight, with loss of appetite, you will think of tuberculosis. First, you should rule out tuberculosis in our setup always. Okay? Then, anything else you can think of in this 55-year-old male?
Malignancy, ma'am.
Very good. Malignancy also you should keep it in mind. Okay? Or it can be some chronic parenchymal problem. Okay? Which also should run in your mind. Oh, we will see. Yes. So there is history of hemoptysis also for the past 10 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hemoptysis again is a medical emergency if it is going to be a large volume blood loss. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you tell me some causes of hemoptysis, respiratory causes of hemoptysis?
Ma'am,
Yes.
it could be a malignancy problem, ma'am. It could be a bronchogenic carcinoma.
Again in our setup, first
Tuberculosis, ma'am.
tuberculosis first, yes. Then you can think of malignancy. Then what else? What else?
Bronchiectasis, ma'am.
Yes, in bronchiectasis you can have hemoptysis. Yes.
All the suppurative lung diseases, ma'am. Lung
Yes.
abscess.
Lung abscess.
Or
yes.
or an empyema with a bronchopleural fistula.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Rarely you see even in AVMs, no? AV malformation.
yes, ma'am.
You see very rare, but similarly bronchial adenomas, okay, which are benign condition comparatively when you compare it with the malignant condition. This is a benign condition. Where
Invasive aspergillosis, ma'am.
yes, that is aspergillosis or aspergilloma is one of the important complication of tuberculosis. Imagine there is a cavity, tuberculous cavity, okay. So this aspergillus grows within the cavity as a fungal bond. Again, it is angio-invasive, so it invades the vessels, causing massive hemoptysis. We have seen so many cases of aspergilloma causing massive hemoptysis. Okay, proceed. Next slide. Next slide.
History of presenting illness.
Yes.
The patient complains of a productive cough, which was insidious in onset and progressive in nature for the past 3 months.
Okay.
It was
If
associated
it
with
is going
sputum.
to be productive cough, what all details you want from the patient? Productive cough.
The sputum, the
Yes.
qualities of the sputum, ma'am.
Yeah.
Its quantity, its color, whether it's
Quantity
blood
you want,
streak.
whether it is scanty or copious. Huh? If it is, for example, if it's a chronic bronchitis, it will be very scanty. Early morning cough, it's scanty sputum. Okay. If it is going to be bronchiectasis, okay, bronchiectasis, patient coughs, brings out large volume of sputum, which is called as bronchoria. When the sputum volume is more than 100 ml, you call it as bronchoria. The typical example is again bronchiectasis, the suppurative lung diseases like bronchiectasis, lung abscess. The lung abscess, what is lung abscess? See, there is the lung parenchyma, there is destruction or necrosis of the parenchyma, which is filled with pus. Okay, it's like a cavity with pus. That is the lung abscess. When this abscess opens into the airway, the patient can bring out large volume of sputum. Similarly, empyema thoracis. Okay, empyema, you call it as the full term is empyema thoracis. By meaning, empyema means pus in a preformed cavity. So, pus in a preformed cavity. Let it be a pleural cavity, it can be an appendix, It can be a gallbladder. Okay, so you should be more specific telling it as empyema thoracis. Here there is pus collection within the pleural cavity. So when this, as she says, when there is going to be a bronchopleural fistula, when there is a connection between the pleural cavity and the airway, patient is supposed to bring out foul-smelling large quantity of sputum. Similarly, there is one more malignancy called alveolar cell carcinoma, which is common in non-smokers, females. Okay, so they bring about large volume of saliva-like sputum. Just like saliva, they bring out lots of sputum, which is a typical finding in alveolar cell carcinoma. Okay, if the patient brings out the sputum as yellowish or greenish, what all you will think? Yellowish
It's a
sputum.
bacterial infection.
Yeah, some bacterial infection. If it is going to be rusty sputum, what will you think?
Pneumococcal infection.
Yeah, pneumococcal pneumonia. Pneumococcal pneumonia, rusty sputum is the rule. Okay, then if the sputum is black in color, what will you think?
Coal workers
Yeah,
pneumonia.
it is called as melanophthisis, black colored sputum. Coal workers pneumoconiosis, which is an occupational disorder. If this is going to be a bright red sputum, what will you think? Bright red. Have you heard of red currant jelly? It is like a jelly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Klebsiella.
Red currant jelly sputum is characteristic of Klebsiella. If you take this Klebsiella pneumonia, which is very common in alcoholic, always the upper lobe is affected. There are multiple cavity formation in Klebsiella pneumonia, and there is another important finding called as bulging fissure sign, which we see because it forms large amount of exudates. Okay, so the fissures means you have major and the minor fissure. So the bulging fissure sign you get in Klebsiella pneumonia. Okay, so where you get anchovy-like sputum, anchovy sauce sputum.
Amoebic liver abscess.
Very good. Don't tell amoebic liver abscess alone. It is a ruptured amoebic liver abscess. So the abscess is in the liver, most probably it is in the right lobe of the liver, which ruptures into the lung parenchyma, causing a fistulous tract. And this is connected to the airway. So obviously the patient will bring out anchovy sauce pus. It is called as anchovy sauce. What is anchovy? What
It's
is
a fish,
anchovy?
ma'am.
It's a type of fish, very good. It's a type of fish, so they call it as anchovy sauce pus. Another thing, what do you mean by bilioptysis? Bilioptysis, like hemoptysis, bilioptysis. In the same condition,
Coughing up.
it can happen. Huh?
Coughing up bile, ma'am.
Yes, how bile will come into the sputum, can you think of? How bile, how it is connected? Again, it is the same condition, amoebic liver abscess, where the anchovy sauce is totally emptied by cough, okay? So the cavity, the amoebic cavity is empty, but there is bile oozing into the cavity. So through the same fistulous tract, the patient can bring out bile. So that's why it is called we have seen a case, MG department in Stanley Hospital, they presented a case in our physician meet. So the patient brought about only the bile, which is known as bilioptysis. Okay, bilioptysis. What is red currant jelly stools? Where do you get red currant jelly stools? In pediatrics, anyone?
Intussusception.
Very good. Intussusception in a newborn. So it's because of the telescoping of the intestines, okay, which is an acute emergency in a newborn. Otherwise, you lose the child. It is like an intestinal obstruction, telescoping, okay, where you see a sausage-shaped mass, okay, and the baby will pass red currant jelly stools. Stools are different from the sputum, okay. Right. Okay. Proceed. Proceed, Swarna.
The sputum is moderate in quantity, yellowish in color, blood-streaked, mucopurulent in nature, and it's not foul-smelling.
Okay.
It's aggravated on lying in the right lateral position, temporarily relieved on taking a herbal medication. It's not associated with chest pain, syncope, or wheeze.
1 minute. We'll go one by one. See, when there is chest pain in any respiratory case, what all you will think?
Most likely a pleuritic chest pain.
It's surely a respiratory case, and the patient complains of chest pain. Yes?
Pleurisy, ma'am.
Very good. First, you will think of pleurisy. You know, the lung parenchyma as well as the visceral pleura, they are insensitive to pain. Only the parietal pleura is sensitive. A condition called pleurisy, otherwise pleuritis, inflammation of the pleura. So whenever there is inflammation, when both the layers they come in contact, it causes severe pain. So patient tries to avoid this contact and friction. So he wants to restrict the ipsilateral side with his own hand. If you see the patient, he will hold that side of the chest with his hands and enter to see the doctor. To restrict, he wants to restrict the movement of the chest so that the pain is less. Similarly, cough. Cough also will worsen the area of contact, so the pain will be more. So, cough. All these will aggravate the. How will you pick up pleurisy clinically? Clinically?
Plural rub.
Plural rub, ma'am.
Auscultation.
Yeah. So plural rub, right? Like your wheeze, crepitation, okay, and rub. These three are known as the adventitious sounds. Okay, normally our breathing is vesicular. Vesicular breathing, normal respiratory breathing is called vesicular breath sound. Whereas these are called as the added sound. See, if you see the wheeze, wheeze is it's a musical sound because of the restriction to the airway flow. Okay, now there is bronchoconstriction, so there is a air, so it produces whistling sound, which may be monophonic or polyphonic. Okay, it can be expiratory wheeze or an inspiratory wheeze. Okay, whereas if you take crackles are wet sounds because of the air passing through the secretion or because of the miniature explosion of the alveoli. So these three adventitious sound you should keep in mind. Okay, so you will think of pleurisy when the patient complains of chest pain. If the patient is 60 years or 60 plus, a known smoker, complains of pain in the chest as well as upper limb, right? Imagine right upper limb. What will you suspect?
Ma'am, if it's acute onset, maybe pulmonary embolism.
Chronic, maybe 1 month. 1 month you can. So the patient says, I have pain here.
Pancoast tumor, ma'am.
Very good. You should definitely say Pancoast. See, Pancoast tumor again is a type of a lung, which is called as the superior sulcus tumor. Here, this tumor, okay, it compresses many structures, particularly C8T1 dermatome. C8T1, so it causes pain, brachialgia as well as wasting of the small muscles of the hand. And also, since the sympathetic is involved, patient will have Horner syndrome with partial ptosis, meiosis, enophthalmosis, loss of ciliospinal reflex. So all these they can have. Okay. So when it is going to be a Pancoast tumor or a superior sulcus tumor, and the pain here is mainly because of the erosion of the ribs in Pancoast. So the first and the second rib can be involved. So they may be eroded. So why there is pain when the erosion of rib occurs? Why? Why there is pain?
Ma'am, because the intercostal nerve travels just below.
Oh, it invades the intercostal nerves. You know, the intercostal nerves are when the rib is there at the lower border. You've got the vessels as well as the intercostal vessels and intercostal. When they are invaded, okay, definitely it can cause pain, chest pain. Even mediastinal problems like a mediastinal tumor can cause chest pain. Okay. Next, syncope. Can you connect RS and syncope? RS causes syncope.
Yes, ma'am. Prolonged coughing itself.
Cough syncope. Whenever there is prolonged cough, what happens? There is increased intrathoracic pressure. So obviously the venous return is less, cardiac output is less, cerebral perfusion is less. So the patient is prone for syncope. Okay, these we discussed. Can you tell me the complications of chronic cough? Anyone? I'll ask some questions, some students. Sushmita, answer. What are the complications of chronic cough?
Ma'am.
Sushmita. Yes?
Hello.
Yes?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, tell me, Sushmita.
Ma'am.
Sushmita. Yeah, tell me.
Complications of chronic cough, ma'am.
Yes. We were talking about 100 days cough and all, right? Even here our patient is having cough for 3 months. See, if the patient coughs for 3 months every day, what are complications patient can develop?
I'm
Anyone?
not sure.
Huh?
Hernia, ma'am.
Very good. Yes, hernia where? Any type of hernia? Yes, umbilical hernia, inguinal hernia, because of the increased intra-abdominal pressure. Then, anything else? Anything else?
Hypoproteinemia. Hypoproteinemia.
Okay, if it is going to be a productive cough, yes, patient can develop hypoproteinemia. Yes, when there is large volume of sputum loss, patient is prone for hypoproteinemia. Then, anything else? Chronic cough.
Subconjunctival hemorrhage.
Very good, very good. There is subconjunctival hemorrhage, increase intraocular pressure, rupture of frenum linguae, divarication of rectus, and even it can go up to the fracture of rib, rectal prolapse. Okay, all these can happen if the patient is suffering from chronic cough, exhaustion. They develop exhaustion, and you said cough and cough. So all these are the complications of any chronic cough. Okay, next. Yes, yes, Varna.
Yes, ma'am. Fever is low grade, insidious in onset, intermittent in nature, duration of 3 months, associated with evening rise in temperature and night sweats. It's temporarily relieved by taking paracetamol. It's not associated with chills or rigor.
So here from this history, okay, so she says it's a low grade, evening rise, okay, intermittent. Still we will think of tuberculosis first, okay, in this setup. Next.
Hemoptysis, duration of 10 days, 2 to 3 episodes per day. Small quantity of fresh blood is coughed up, associated with blood in sputum.
What is endemic hemoptysis? Anyone knows? Endemic hemoptysis.
Parasitic
Yeah,
infection.
like what?
Paragonymous Western.
So Paragonimus westermani. It can cause hemoptysis, endemic. Okay, fine. And you should know the cardiac causes also. We need not discuss now. I think we already discussed about the cardiac causes of hemoptysis also. Yeah. Yes. Next.
History of significant loss of weight, 7 kg in the past 3 months. History of loss of appetite for the past 3 months. History of night sweats. History of fatigue. No history of dyspnea. No history of wheezing. No history of dysphagia. No history of hoarseness of voice. No history of allergies or sneezing episodes. No history of facial puffiness, reduced urine volume, pedal edema, abdominal distension, palpitation, or syncope.
Why do you ask for all this? The last question. Why facial puffiness, reduced urine volume, pedal edema, abdominal distension, palpitations, and what?
Cor pulmonale. To rule out cor pulmonale.
What is cor pulmonale? Define.
It's a right ventricular enlargement secondary to pulmonary hypertension because of chronic respiratory diseases.
Yes. So it is a right ventricular failure. So for example, it can be acute or chronic. Okay. In a pulmonary embolism, it will be an acute cor pulmonale. Whereas in a case of bronchiectasis or ILD, it will be a chronic cor pulmonale. It's a chronic, long-standing lung problem which causes right heart failure and pulmonary hypertension. Okay. So this you should know. Next.
Past history, no history of previous similar episodes, no history of diabetes mellitus, hypertension, epilepsy, bronchial asthma, or any major illness, no history of previous TB.
One sec. Diabetics and RS, respiratory system. Can you connect?
Diabetics is a generally an immunocompromised state, ma'am, so they're prone for recurrent infections, ma'am.
Yes. Like
And
what all infections
diabetes
they are
may.
prone? What all infections they are prone? They are prone. Actually, when will you suspect diabetes in any individual?
Ma'am?
When will you suspect diabetes in any individual? What all will make a doctor to screen that particular patient from diabetes?
Polyuria, ma'am.
Very good. Polys. That may not be there for all patients. Okay. Polyuria, polydipsia, and polyphagia. Actually, what is diabetes? Can you tell me? What is diabetes?
It's
What's
a
happening?
metabolic
See,
disorder, ma'am.
very good.
It's
It's
a
a metabolic disorder.
it's a chronic state of hyperglycemia, ma'am.
Yes.
Most
Yes.
likely due to an insulin resistance, or
Yeah.
less likely if it's type 1, it's due to an insulin deficiency.
Yes. It is either due to the deficiency or the insulin resistance. It's a metabolic problem. So, any patient, if you screen a mass, no, a group of persons, then we will label them as diabetic.
When their random blood sugar is more than 126 milligrams per deciliter.
How much?
126, ma'am, more than 126.
126, yeah, 126 will be the cutoff line. Okay, there are other entities called pre-diabetic range also. You should know that also, IFG and IGT. IFG is impaired fasting glucose when it is between 100 and 126. Okay, we call it as IGT, impaired glucose tolerance, if it is more than 140 and less than 200. Okay, so such individuals also need some lifestyle modification. Okay, so what also, as we said, diabetes is an immunocompromised state. So, what all respiratory problems the patients prone for?
Pneumonia, ma'am,
Yes,
bronchiectasis.
yes, pneumonia, tuberculosis. First, you'll think
Yes,
of
ma'am.
tuberculosis, then pneumonia, you can say. Okay, and what else? See, these individuals are prone for florid tuberculosis, we can say. Okay, so if the hyperglycemia is not under control, if the A1C is all the time 9, 10, what is the ideal A1C level? Ideal will be 6.5. The glycosylated hemoglobin should be strictly 6.5. At least 7 and less is allowed. If it is continuously above 8 or 9, such patients are more prone for end organ damage. Okay, what we mean by end organ damage? See, it can be a microvascular problem or a macrovascular problem. Microvascular is like your retinopathy, neuropathy, nephropathy. Macrovascular, coronary artery disease, cerebral vascular diseases, peripheral vascular disease. All these you should know. No, these are the complications of long-standing uncontrolled diabetes. See, they are prone for sudden death because of silent MI. They are prone for even autonomic imbalance, sweating abnormality, involvement of the bladder, bowel. They can have giddiness, syncope. There are so many issues with diabetes. So the early detection and control of diabetes is very, very important. So such individual, if the patient is a diabetic, definitely first I will rule out tuberculosis. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Next.
No history of aspiration, exanthematous fever, tooth extraction,
Very
tonsillectomy,
important.
allergy.
Very, very important. History of aspiration. For example, imagine the same patient is a male, he is an alcoholic. Okay, so every day he drinks and lies down on the road platform. Okay, such individuals, as you all know, the alcohol will suppress the cough reflex. They will not have cough reflex at all. So obviously he vomits and he aspirates. So as we said, aspiration can cause lung abscess, bronchiectasis, all suppurative lung disease, pneumonia. All these can occur because of aspiration. Not only that, there are surgeries where, okay, always you all know, only in empty stomach they do the surgery. Otherwise, under the anesthetic effect, they can bring out the acid content, which can cause aspiration. Why we are worried about exanthematous fever? Like measles,
Ma'am,
mumps, rubella, why we are worried? Yes?
post-viral immunosuppression.
Yes, there will be post-viral immunosuppression. They are prone for again pneumonia, even tuberculosis. They are prone for bronchiectasis, childhood. Exanthematous fever can manifest as bronchiectasis in later days also. Okay, there is another entity called reversible bronchiectasis. Such exanthematous viral infections can cause bronchiectasis-like picture, which can reverse back, which we call it as reversible bronchiectasis. Tooth extraction, as we said, is aspiration, tonsillectomy again. Okay. Allergy. Allergy. Why do you want history of allergy?
Ma'am, for asthma or
Yes. So
bronchopulmonary
if you think
aspergillosis.
about early onset asthma, That is childhood onset of asthma. Definitely there will be history of family history, family members or the elders or the parents will be suffering from allergies like dust allergy, urticaria, okay, and bronchospasm. They can even have bronchial asthma. In childhood, you call it asthmatic bronchitis, AB, asthmatic bronchitis. So these individuals, this is called as atopy. Atopy means they have urticaria and sensitive. These individuals are very sensitive. And IgE, if you check their IgE level, will be very high. Similarly, eosinophils will be more. Eosinophilia will be there. So there is one more entity called late onset asthma also. You all go read about bronchial asthma, which is very, very common in our sector. As interns, you will see more cases in winters. They come with bronchospasm. Actually, bronchial asthma is an inflammatory condition. It is an irreversible airway obstruction. Whenever there is a trigger, all the airways they constrict. So that's why, so the air during inspiration, it finds difficulty. Similarly, the air which is inside may not come out. So they develop what is known as polyphonic wheeze. When you auscultate, you pick up polyphonic wheeze on auscultation. Right. Okay, next.
No history of recurrent respiratory infections, no history of exposure to STDs, no history of previous surgeries or blood transfusions, no history of chronic drug intake.
Okay, next.
Family history, no history of similar complaints in the family, no history of anyone in the family affected by TB, no history of diabetes mellitus, hypertension, epilepsy, bronchial asthma, or lung diseases in the family.
Yes.
Personal history. Patient is a chronic smoker who smokes 20 cigarettes per day for the past 20 years. Number of pack years calculated.
1 minute. Okay, here smoking is a very, very dangerous personal habit. Okay, in adults, you all know what are all the dangers which affects the nicotine and the tar inside the cigar, which affects various systems in a human body. What all problems the patients can have in respiratory system first?
Tuberculosis, ma'am.
Yes.
COPD, ma'am.
First you should say COPD, okay? First you should say COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Smokers are prone for COPD. COPD is a combination of chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Emphysema is different from empyema, which we discussed, okay? What is chronic bronchitis? Cough of more than 3 months. Okay, cough lasting for more than 3 months in 2 consecutive years. Okay, you suspect chronic bronchitis. So what is emphysema? Emphysema. Here,
emphysema is the destruction of the alveolar wall by proteases.
Yes, the acini, there is destruction. So the elasticity or the compliance of the lung is gone. So this is emphysema. Always it is a combination. There is one more entity called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. So such individuals are also prone for, emphysema. I think you all know about that, right? So these smokers, so they are prone for COPD. Similarly, any asthmatic who smokes, so he is again prone for attack of asthma, acute onset. It may worsen the spasm or wheeze. Okay, anything else? Any other complication they can have? Smokers are prone
carcinoma,
for MI. You should not forget, smokers are prone for MI. Sudden death is possible in a smoker. Then malignancy. Malignancy in a smoker, if you take, it starts from oral cavity, not only RS, okay? Oral cavity. Where else? Nasopharynx. Then
renal cell carcinoma.
CA esophagus, CA stomach, CA pancreas, CA bladder. So all these are possible, all smoke because of smoking. Okay. Is there any benefit of smoking? Smokers, do you think of any benefits out of smoking? Any advantage of smoking?
Ulcerative colitis risk is decreased.
Ulcerative colitis. Anything else? Anything else? What about Parkinson? So they say, you go refer and tell me who's answering this.
Ma'am?
Name of the student? Who's answering this question? Your good
Syed
name, ma'am?
Hafiz, ma'am. Syed
Syed.
Hafiz, ma'am.
Syed will go refer and tell me in my next class tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other advantage of smoking? Okay. Tomorrow you will tell me, Syed. Okay,
Yes,
in my
ma'am.
class, which is continuation of this class. Okay. You will tell
Okay,
me
ma'am.
the advantage. Right. Proceed. Swarna, proceed.
No history of alcohol or other substance abuse. No history of tattooing, sleep,
Again,
bowel, and black.
alcohol, because of TASMAC, everywhere alcohol, everybody is drinking. You know the side effects, the respiratory problems with alcohol?
Aspiration, ma'am.
Yeah, very good. Just now we said because of sluggish cough reflex, they are prone for aspiration. Very good. So aspiration can lead on to all separation. Pneumonia, lung abscess, all that. Okay, then anything else? Anything else?
They'll be malnourished also, ma'am. So they're more
Yes?
prone to TB,
They
tuberculosis
are very
infection.
good, very good. They are prone for tuberculosis because of malnutrition. Again, because of malnutrition and hypoproteinemia, they are even prone for pleural effusion. When the oncotic pressure is less, they can have even pleural effusion because of that, or because of tuberculosis. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
right, proceed.
Sleep, bowel, and bladder movements are normal. Occupational history. Patient is a tailor by occupation. His workplace is not situated near any chemical factories or cotton mills.
Cotton
Contacts.
mills. Okay. Cotton mills. Imagine he is living or he is working in a cotton mill. What occupational disease the patient can have?
Piscinosis.
Bicynosis because of cotton wool. Okay. There is one more condition called Monday morning sickness or syndrome. See, these workers who work in cotton industry, after the weekend, when they go on Monday, when they are exposed, there will be acute exacerbation. They say cough will be more. This is called Monday morning sickness. Okay, this is in bicynosis. What is bagasosis?
Sugarcane dust exposure.
Yeah, it's because of the sugarcane dust. Any other occupational disease you know?
Silicosis,
Silicosis,
asbestosis.
asbestosis. Silicosis, commonly these construction workers know, those who are exposed. Silica is nothing but sand. Okay, SiO2, silicosis. Okay, they are prone for silicosis. Silicosis again, such individuals are prone for tuberculosis. Those who have silicosis are prone for tuberculosis. Asbestosis, if they are exposed to asbestos fibers, what is the danger?
Mesothelioma.
Mesothelioma. Okay, pleural malignancy called mesothelioma, you should not forget. What is bird fancier's lung?
Pigeon breeders are
Ah,
hypersensitive
yes.
to
What is psittacosis?
psittacosis. Is it's a chlamydial infection, ma'am, exposed to parrots.
Parrots droppings, right? Parrots droppings. Yeah, proceed. Proceed.
No history of contact with a known TB case. Summary: Mr. Money, a 55-year-old male, a tailor by occupation, presented with complaints of cough with expectoration, fever with evening rise in temperature for the past 3 months, and hemoptysis for the past 10 days. There's history of significant loss of weight, loss of appetite, and fatigue. Patient is a chronic heavy smoker for the past 20 years. No history of similar episodes in the past or any contact with known TB patients. The most probable system involved is the respiratory system.
Fine. Proceed.
General examination. Patient is conscious and oriented to time, place, and person. Moderately built and moderately nourished. Pallor noted in the palpebral conjunctiva and buccal mucosa. No icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, pedal edema, or significant generalized lymphadenopathy seen. No signs of Horner syndrome. No external markers of TB were observed. No external markers of HIV were observed.
See, nicely you are leading the examiner, right? So if you say no external markers, they'll ask you what are the external markers. What are the external markers of TB?
Flectrular keratoconjunctivitis, ma'am.
Where do you look for the
And
Plyton? Where do you look for the Plyton?
the
How will it look like?
sclerocorneal junction, ma'am.
At the sclerocorneal junction, you see a nodule. Okay. See this Plyton. It is nothing but an allergic reaction to a remote TB focus. Okay. there is TB in some other part of the body, okay, and this is an allergic manifestation. Similarly, what is known as Ponson's disease? Have you heard of Ponson's, P-O-N-C-E-T? Ponson's disease? No. So again here, arthritis, okay. So if see, there is another entity called TB arthritis. You know, TB arthritis, most of the time it is a monoarticular, highly destructive arthritis, which causes deformity. There is destruction of joint cartilage as well as synovium is gone, thickened and deformed, causing deformities. If it is going to be the direct involvement of the tuberculosis, whereas this Ponson's disease is it's because of the allergic manifestation. It need not have the typical features of. Go read about Ponson's. Okay, it's again a remote allergic effect of TB. Okay, right. Next. What are the other
Vitals.
markers? Other
Oh,
markers
sorry.
of TB?
Tinea versicolor, ma'am.
Yes, tinea versicolor caused by
Malassezia.
Malassezia furfur. Yes, then other causes? Other etiology?
Scrofulloderma.
Scrofulloderma, lupus vulgaris,
Erythema nodosum.
erythema nodosum. Is it painful or painless? Erythema nodosum.
Painful, ma'am.
It's always painful over the shin of the tibia. Most of the time, shin of the tibia, painful reddish nodules. Whereas erythema marginatum is different. Where will you look for erythema marginatum?
Rheumatic fever.
Yeah, it is one of the major criteria of rheumatic fever. Rheumatic fever, which is non-pruritic, non-tender macules with central clearing and peripheral spreading. Okay, right. Anything else? TB, epidermoorchitis, you should not forget. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
epidermoorchitis. Yes, proceed. Yes.
Pulse 84 beats per minute. Regular, normal volume and character. No radio-radial or radio-femoral delay. Vessel wall is normal. Peripheral pulses were equally felt.
Very good.
Blood pressure.
Can you relate any peculiar pulse you can search in RS? Peculiar
Pulse is paradoxes.
Yes, what is pulses paradoxes?
It's more than 10 millimeter mercury drop in the systolic blood pressure during inspiratory pulsing.
More than 10, okay? So, it is commonly seen in which respiratory condition?
Asthma, ma'am. Acute
Yeah,
asthma.
acute severe asthma, even in constrictive pericarditis, in CVS cause. Okay, right, next.
Blood pressure 130/70 in the left arm in the sitting posture. Respiratory rate 20 beats per minute. Regular rhythm, abdominothoracic type. Temperature 99.7 degrees Fahrenheit. JVP is not raised.
Yes, proceed.
Examination of the respiratory system. Inspection, upper respiratory tract. Nasal cavity and nasal septum is normal. No nasal polyps seen. No sinus tenderness. Oral cavity, hard and soft palate, uvula, tonsils, posterior pharyngeal wall are normal. No halitosis, no oral thrush or dental caries.
Very good, very good. See, in any RS case, examination of upper airway is very, very important. I told you, the area of the airway above tricard cartilages, upper airway. Okay, so you are looking at the nasal cavity for DNS. What is DNS? Deflected nasal septum or deviated septum, or you are looking for any polyps. Okay, then you look at the posterior pharyngeal wall for any post-nasal drip, any tonsillar enlargement, any dental caries, any halitosis. Okay. Then you look for the sinus tenderness as well as the ear, whether the TM is intact. Definitely you look at the tympanic membrane, whether it is intact, whether there is a CSOM, okay, chronic suppurative otitis media, all that. So you have to screen the upper airway always. Yes. Next.
Lower respiratory tract. Trachea appears to be slightly shifted to the left. Apical impulse seen in the left fifth intercostal space, 1.25 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular line.
To say
Chest.
the apical impulse is normal, huh? Normal, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Chest wall appears to be symmetrical, does not move equally with respiration. Flattening of chest wall is seen over the left intraclavicular area. No chest indrawing, no crowding of ribs, no scars, sinuses, dilated veins, or visible pulsations were noted. No drooping of shoulders were seen. No spinal deformities like kyphosis or scoliosis is seen. Accessory muscles of respirations are not in use.
One minute. So this is inspection only, right, Swarna? So
Yes,
by
ma'am.
inspection, she is telling the trachea is slightly shifted to left. See, I want to tell you an important point here. See, you as an examiner, as a physician, you should be very sure about the position of the trachea, which tells you about the push or pull of the upper mediastinum, as well as the position of the apical impulse, which tells you the push and pull of the lower mediastinum. Okay, so she says by inspection it is to left side. So which is quite abnormal. So normally trachea will be in the midline or slightly towards right. So when it is going to be on the left side, what all you can think? Either there is a push from the right side
Opposite.
or a pull from the left side. Okay, and she says the apical impulse is almost normal. So she means to say there is no shift of lower mediastinum. And she is looking at the shape of the chest, it is symmetrical, and there is less movement and flattening seen over the left infraclavicular area. Okay, and she says there is no crowding, but I want you to be very keen on looking at the crowding of ribs. For that, if the patient is very thin and emaciated, you can easily make out the chest indrawing as well as crowding of ribs. Okay. So, if there are dilated veins, what will you think of? Dilated veins in the anterior wall of the chest.
Superior vena cava
Yes,
centris.
we will think of or suspect SVC obstruction. Similarly, she says there is no drooping of shoulders seen. See, she says there is flattening. Again, there is a clue on the left side. So the trachea is on the left side, there is flattening on the left side. Definitely, I will be keen to look at the shoulder levels, whether there is any drooping. Similarly, I will look at the back of the patient, looking for any scapular descent or the spino-scapular distance on either side, spino-scapular, that is from the vertebral spine to the spinal angle. We will find the inferior angle, the inferior angle of the scapula as well as the spine. You take the distance, the measurement. That also will tell you there is volume reduction. Similarly, the crowding of ribs, all these will tell you there is volume reduction. Here, according to her, except flattening of the chest and the trachea to left, others not much. Okay. Next.
Palpation. Inspection findings are confirmed by palpation. Trachea is deviated to the left. Apical impulse is seen in the left fifth intercostal space, 1.25 centimeter medial to mid-clavicular
So
line.
you're sure it is left side. See, for that, you should know how to palpate the trachea. For that, you have to come to the ward maybe shortly. Okay, when you are allowed, or you can, in hostel, you can check your own friend's trachea, or you can try your own trachea. Okay, with the, see these two, that is the index finger and the ring finger will be on the sternoclavicular joint. And with your middle finger from Adam's apple, the thyroid cartilage, you run your middle finger down. So, just above the suprasternal notch, you feel the tracheal rings. First, you confirm it is trachea, and then you try to insinuate on either side of this trachea. So, and you find you should be very cautious whether the space on either side is equal or narrowed down. Before all this, you make the patient sit relaxed and ask him to look straight. He cannot turn this way or that way or extend his neck. So he should look straight so that the neck muscles are relaxed. All these are the prerequisites before palpating the trachea. Very important. Tracheal palpation fail on these okay? So adanala as UG you should be very, very sure about the tracheal position. Right. Next.
Apical chest movements decreased in the left infraclavicular region. Chest measurement. Anteroposterior diameter is 20 centimeter. Transverse diameter is 28 centimeter. And the AP transverse ratio is normal. Chest expansion is 3 centimeter.
Is it
No
okay
interco-
for you? Chest expansion is 3 centimeters.
The normal is
Just
5.
a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Priya. Priya? அனுப்பலாம் ஏமே அனுப்பிடு நான் இந்த கிளாஸ்ல இருக்கேன் நான் முடிச்சிட்டு வரேன் I will finish the class. you clearly write patient discharge against medical advice and then give the summary of the case. Give the summary, what all treatment we gave, what all investigations done for the patient. Okay, Priya? I'll come to the word after the class, okay? Right, okay. Right, okay. Okay. Yes, Varna. Yes.
Ma'am, the normal chest expansion would range from 5 to 8 centimeter, ma'am.
Minimum 5, okay. Here, you are telling just expansion is 3 centimeter. That means it's so general, right? See, you are measuring at the level of nipple.
Yes, ma'am.
See, you are supposed to do one full examination and then you have to separately measure the hemithorax also so that you will be sure about which side it is restricted. See, in this case, which side you want the restriction, right side or left side?
Left side, ma'am.
Left, you expect a restriction. So that should be done, okay? Apart
Yes, ma'am.
from the whole chest expansion, you are supposed to measure the hemithorax also at the level of nipple, okay?
Yes, ma'am. There's no intercostal tenderness.
Very important, intercostal tenderness in empyema. When there is pus in the pleural cavity, patient will be very toxic, I told you. The intercostal tenderness and intercostal bulging will be there and severe tenderness. That actually diagnoses empyema. But there is one more condition where there is intercostal tenderness on the right side. Can anyone tell? Intercostal tenderness on the right side. Intra-axillary, you can take intra-axillary. There is
Maybe
intercostal.
clever abscess, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. Your good name, pa? Veera?
Veera, ma'am.
Veera, okay. Veera, very good, yeah. So when there is amoebic liver abscess, the physician, even before doing ultrasound, so an alcoholic coming with right hypochondrial pain, fever, okay. So you are examining, there is severe liver is enlarged and tender. Obviously, there is also intercostal tenderness. You are sure it is amoebic liver abscess. And ultrasound will confirm. As physician, we have done even amoebic liver aspiration in the same hospital. I did my PG in the same hospital, MMC. So what we used to do with radiologist's help, we have to find out what is the size of the abscess, how deep is the abscess from the surface. Okay, then we come to the ward, we prepare the patient and we put in a wide bore needle and aspirate straight. We can do it as clinician, okay. So that is about the intercostal tenderness. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Vocal fremitus, tell me. Swarna?
Am I audible, ma'am?
Vocal fremitus, something you're telling.
Vocal fremitus increased over the left infraclavicular and the axillary region, ma'am.
Fine, okay. Next.
Percussion. Direct percussion was done
Okay,
with the
1 minute.
clavicle.
Before starting percussion, I will give you an interesting story, okay? See, Onberger is a great man, okay? He only invented the art of percussion to our medical field, okay? See, Onberger as a small boy was watching his father who was a wine merchant, okay? His father was a wine merchant and the father, he used to just tap the barrels, of wine barrels with his hand and he used to tell the level of wine within the barrel. So as a small one, he was observing his father's, the technique. The same was introduced to RS. So that's how we got the art of percussion. The art of percussion gives you so many information. See, for that you should need to practice this art using the pleximeter and flexa. So you have to keep the pleximeter at the level of the intercostal space and with your flexa, which is most of the time middle finger or sometimes the index finger, you give the force from the wrist, not from the elbow or the shoulder. So it's an art, you have to learn it, okay? You have to symmetrically do it. The percussion areas, the different areas, supraclavicular, mammary, similarly axillary, intra-axillary, back, suprascapular, interscapular, again upper and the lower interscapular and infrascapular. So all these should be percussed, compared. Right and left should be compared. Okay? Now you discuss. Yes, Swarna.
Yes. Direct percussion on the clavicle was done. It was resonant on both the right and the left. The
Yes.
supraclavicular region was resonant on the right and the left. The infraclavicular.
Before that, there is one more area called chronic isthmus. Okay,
Yes,
have you heard of it? Chronic
Yes, ma'am.
isthmus. KRONIG, chronic isthmus, which is nothing but the percussion of the supraclavicular. See, isthmus means narrow. Okay, narrow. So this chronic isthmus connects the percussion areas of anterior as well as posterior part of the lung. So this chronic isthmus, if it is hyper-resonant, what's your diagnosis? And if it is dull, what is your diagnosis? Yes?
If it's hyper-resonant, I would think of emphysema, ma'am.
Very good. Yes, dull.
If it's dull, either an apical tumor or a TB cavity.
Pancreas. Okay, don't tell TB cavity now. Pancreas. Okay, tumor. Right. Yes. Now, what's your finding on percussion?
On the left side, the infraclavicular and the axillary regions, the resonance is impaired.
Infraclavicular. Okay, it is impaired, is it? Okay, fine. Other areas are all resonant.
Infraclavicular and the axillary is also impaired, ma'am.
Impaired. Okay. Okay. Do you know the different percussion notes, Swarna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, tell me.
Impaired note, there's hyper-resonant, impaired, and then dull, and then stony dull, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hyper-resonant is seen in the case of a pneumothorax, ma'am.
Yes.
And resonant is a normal lung, ma'am.
Okay.
Impaired, we see it in fibrosis, ma'am, mainly.
Okay.
Fibrosis or a cavity.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And then if it's dull, we think of a consolidation or a collapse.
First degree dull.
Yes.
Yes. Then?
And then stony dull, we think of a pleural effusion or
fluid. Or you call it as second degree dullness or stony dullness. That should pain your finger. Okay? So that is stony dullness. It is because of the fluid in the pleural cavity, which is nothing but pleural effusion. Okay. Right. So yours is impaired. You are very sure. See, I think you are all very good in theory. The thing is, you should learn all this with the patient. Maybe soon after it is open, no, the classes, we will demonstrate all these to you. Okay, here it's like any other theory class only. You have to imagine things. Okay, at least in cardiac case, different murmurs, I think you can download and you listen to the murmurs. Here in RS case, you are supposed to see the patient, examine the patient. Anyway, right. So other areas are all resonant. Fine. Then.
Yes, ma'am. The superficial cardiac dullness is normal, liver dullness is normal, and the drop space.
You delete this, ma. Delete this superficial cardiac dullness. Don't invite problem. Okay, remove that.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Then
the drop space is percussed and the tympanic node is normal.
Liver dullness is normal. Why are you see the problem is on the left side, right? The pathology is on the left side. Even the right side liver dullness, I don't think it is needed. Okay? Remove this also, delete this also. But you must concentrate on drop space. Definitely you can talk about drop space. Okay?
Yes.
Which is tympanic again. Okay, fine. Next.
Auscultation, bronchial breath sounds heard over the left infraclavicular region. Few find inspiratory.
Stop. See, auscultation again. Who invented the stethoscope? Again, it's
Lennox.
Lennox. Okay. What is Lennox cirrhosis? What is Lennox cirrhosis? Anyone?
Alcoholic micronodular cirrhosis.
Very good. Yeah, it is alcoholic micronodular cirrhosis, is otherwise known as Lennox cirrhosis. You're right. Okay. So, see, if you see, we are using the diaphragm of the stethoscope. See, normally we say it is vesicular breath sound, which is low pitched, and pitch also matters. We have to talk about pitch also of all these sounds. And it resembles rustling of leaves, they say, rustling of leaves. Okay. So, if it is, we discussed about the adventitious sounds. And there are other breath sounds which are abnormal, known as bronchial sounds, abnormal breath sounds, bronchial breath sounds. So these bronchial breath sounds based on the pitch again can be divided into low pitched or high pitched. If any bronchial breath sound is high pitched, according to you, it is tubular. Okay, tubular breath sound, which is high pitched, is always seen in pneumonia, consolidation, mnemonic consolidation, where the parenchyma is solid but the airways are patent. Similarly, the mediastinum is always in the midline in consolidation. Mediastinum will never move in consolidation. Okay, so there you also take the typical bronchial breath sound as tubular breath sound, which is high pitched. See, if it is going to be low pitched, you will think of two important things. One is cavernous breath sound. Cavernous breath sounds you are going to auscultate in cavity. So the cavities will, other pathognomonic finding of cavity will be post-tussive suction and post-tussive crackles, as well as crackpot resonance. All these are important features of any cavity apart from your caverns. Okay. Then another condition called amphoric breath sound. In amphoric breath sound again, you see in what it's again a metallic sound which you listen in tension pneumothorax as well as bronchopleural fistula as well as superficial large cavities. You see the amphoric breath sounds. Okay, so all these you should keep in mind. So in our case, she says the percussion is impaired. Okay, and the trachea is towards left, and the apical impulse is unaltered, and there is impaired breath, impaired node on the left infraclavicular as well as left axillary. Right. Proceed, Swarna.
Few fine inspiratory rails heard over the left infraclavicular and axillary areas.
Okay.
All other areas, the vesicular breath sounds are heard with no other added sounds. Vocal resonance is increased over the left infraclavicular and axillary areas. It's associated with both bronchophony and egophony.
Fine. See here, you said about bronchial breath sound. It's a generalized term. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you should say whether it is amphoric or cavernous or tubular. Which one you would like to prefer?
Ma'am, according to my case, it would be cavernous, ma'am.
So cavernous. Okay. So for that you have to tell the examiner about the post-tussive crackle as well as the post-tussive suction. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ask the patient to cough with some cloth on his mouth. Few coughs. After that, you try to auscultate the same area. You try to pick up the post-tussive suction as well as post-tussive crackles. These are pathognomonic of any cavity. Okay, and also your findings will be few fine crepitations, rails heard in the left infraclavicular. Right. Fine. And the vocal resonance is increased over the left infraclavicular. So why do you say vocal resonance is increased? How did you check?
Ma'am, we keep the stethoscope over the same area and we auscultate, and while we ask the patient to say 111 or 99, and we see if it's increased, the sound is
See,
increased.
you have to compare on either side. Okay, you have to compare. It should be increased on the affected side. And what is bronchophony? What is egophony?
Ma'am, bronchophony is when you again place the stethoscope over the patient's chest and ask the patient to speak, and you can hear the voice loudly. And
Okay,
egophony is when you can have a nasal quality to the voice heard.
what you will ask him to say?
We'll ask him to say E and it will sound like A.
Yeah, okay. It will mimic bleating of the goat. Okay, bleating of goat. So it's called egophony. See, as we discussed, in consolidation, apart from your tubular breath sound, patient will have bronchophony, egophony, as well as whispering pectoralochi. Okay, what is whispering pectoralochi?
We ask the patient.
So
We ask the patient to whisper and then auscultate, and we can hear the whisper very clearly and audibly.
Yes, so it will be as if she is whispering on your ears. Okay, it will be clearly, the syllables are very clearly heard. That is whispering pectoralochi. See, just you imagine its logic. See, in consolidation, the whole lobe is solid, but the airways are open. She is whispering, so through the patent airways, so the chest wall is there, and we are keeping the stethoscope here. So the whisper is clearly heard by your stethoscope. So these are features of consolidation. Okay, next.
Other system examination, cardiovascular system, S1, S2 heard, no murmurs or added sounds.
Not enough.
Abdomen. Ma'am?
Anything else you will concentrate? S1, S2, apart from S1, S2? See, in this case, it may not be needed, but if it's going to be a bilateral disease or a bronchiectasis, you will concentrate on the P2 also. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The pulmonary component of the second sound, whether the patient has got cor pulmonale, okay? Whether there is pulmonary hypertension. Right. Next, abdomen.
Abdomen is soft, non-tender, no organomegaly, normal bowel sounds heard. Central nervous system, no focal neurological deficits. Probable diagnosis, case of chronic infection of the left upper lobe resulting in a fibrocavitary lesion. Most probable etiology is tuberculosis.
One sec. You all accept this diagnosis? Anyone wants to alter? Anyone wants to alter this? Swarna Varshini.
Yes, ma'am.
Your friend yare or takudma?
Ma'am.
Swati. Tell me, Swati. Can you alter the diagnosis or you accept the diagnosis given by Swarna? Where is Swati? Not there? Swati? No.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You want to alter the diagnosis or you accept her diagnosis?
Ma'am, I'm accepting the diagnosis, ma'am.
Fully. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. See, Swati, you can delete this chronic infection, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? It's a case of, parenchymal lung disease. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Left upper lobe fibrocavity.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably tuberculous etiology. Okay, like that you finish.
Okay.
Okay, just you have to modify. Then, investigations.
Investigations, general investigations, blood, complete blood count, total count, differential count, ESR, CRP, D-dimer and random blood sugar, urine, sugar, and liver function test and renal function test. Specific investigations, sputum, AFB staining and microscopy, gram
What do you
stain,
call
or
that staining as? AFP staining is known as what
Zeal
technique?
Nielsen.
Yeah, Zeal-Nielsen's technique. Okay, one AFP staining, then gram
And,
staining. Want to rule out bacterial infection?
secondary infections.
Yeah, secondary infection as well as gene expert CB naught. What do you mean by automated culture? For what? Bacteria, tuberculosis.
No, for tuberculosis, ma'am.
Tuberculosis, what culture they were
Bactec
doing?
or bactec or
Latest is bactec. Okay. Those days they were using LJ medium, no, Lorenzin Jensen medium for the microbacterial culture. 5 minutes later, I'll call you through Milton. Okay. So they do the culture that is obsolete. No, that will take months together to get the reports. Okay.
Yes,
So we prefer bactec culture. So there you use a Geiger-Müller counter using radioactive carbon and find out the culture very fast. Okay, then.
radiological investigations, chest X-ray and CT chest,
Okay.
RT-PCR.
In chest X-ray, what all you will see?
A cavitary lesion in the upper lobe.
Okay, there is a cavity. Usually TB cavities are thin walled. If you see
Yes,
thick
ma'am.
walled, you think of lung abscess, okay, or even malignancy. Okay, so other causes. Okay.
If it's surrounded by fibrosis, would it still be thin walled, ma'am?
Thin wall cavity.
Yes, ma'am.
And CT will confirm, right? Okay,
Yes,
then what are the complications of cavity, ma? Cavity, this cavity, if you leave it alone, what are complications the patient can get? Fibrocavity.
A fungal ball, ma'am.
Just now we discussed about aspergilloma, fungal ball with torrential bleed. Then anything else? See, the cavity can rupture. If it is subpleural, it can rupture, causing what complications? It's an emergency.
Subcutaneous emphysema.
No. Pneumothorax.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Subcutaneous is pneumothorax, it is a related complication. Pneumothorax. So, a subpleural cavity with cough, just with violent cough, it ruptures. Okay? Anything else? There may be secondary infection of the cavity. Lung abscess can happen. What else can happen? Hemoptysis, you said, no? Hemoptysis, apart from aspergilloma, there are other causes. Other causes for hemoptysis. You know, TB per se it's a vasculitis. The capillaries, they are inflamed. So, not only that, if you see the cavity, okay, the capillaries around the margin of the cavity, they lose support. Not only that, because of fibrosis, there is traction on the capillaries. So, with cough, obviously they rupture causing torrential bleed, okay, or it is because of aspergilloma, or with long-standing scar can cause even scar carcinoma. TB,
Yes, ma'am.
long-standing scar can turn malignant, okay, causing scar carcinoma. Again, there may be hemoptysis. Okay, similarly, what is here? Bronchiectasis sicca. What is bronchiectasis sicca?
It's a dry type of bronchiectasis caused by the destruction of the glands, ma'am.
It is mainly because of TB. There is the presentation is only hemoptysis. There is no sputum. Always upper lobe. Think of bronchiectasis sicca. Sicca means dry. Dry means nil sputum. Okay, so these things you should remember in a cavity. And I will ask you another question. Okay, TB, which part of the lung is commonly affected?
If it's a primary TB, the lower lobe is
Don't
most.
talk about primary and all. I don't want primary complex, gone focus and all. In an adult, which
The upper
part
lobe
of the
is-
upper lobe? Why it's upper lobe? Have you thought of it? Why
The
only
ventilation,
upper lobe?
because of the increased oxygen tension, ma'am. It's an
Okay.
obligate aerobe and it loves oxygen, so
Okay.
there's more of oxygenation than perfusion, ma'am.
One. Okay. Right. One. Then. Similarly, you said
Poor
perfusion,
lymphatic drainage.
more of oxygenation, less perfusion, you said, right? So
Yes,
obviously the macrophages will be less. If you see the apex, no? The macrophages, they fight, no? They fight with the mycobacterium. So they are relatively less. Not only that, they call it as buoyancy. Buoyancy is nothing but the floating ability of the bacillus. Buoyancy, because the cell wall of the TB bacillus, the mycobacterium, contains a thing called lipoteichoic acid. So this lipoteichoic acid makes the bacillus float. So that's why the TB is very common in the upper lobes. In immunocompromised individuals, obviously it may be lower down. It may be with multiple cavity, with cavity or even without cavity, it can manifest. Okay, right.
Yes, ma'am.
Proceed.
RT-PCR for COVID-19 and
For the
HIV testing
inpatient,
and counseling.
you will do RT-PCR. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Treatment is anti-tubercular therapy, ma'am.
Okay. What anti-tubercular treatment you want to give for this patient?
Standard regimen, ma'am. 2 months
Like what?
intensive phase of isoniazid, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol. 4 months continuation phase of isoniazid, rifampicin, and ethambutol.
This is according to RNTCP. You should know all this. You know,
Yes,
no? Revised
Yes, ma'am.
National Tuberculosis Control Program. Are they using DOTS now? DOTS?
No, ma'am, they've converted to Nikshay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So now, how they are giving? Weekly 3 days or daily?
Daily only.
Daily,
think
you
I-
sure? Daily. According to RNTCP, huh? Okay. And
Ma'am,
similarly-
according to NTEP, ma'am, now
Yes.
National Tuberculosis Elimination Program,
Okay.
it has been revised, ma'am. So RNTCP does not exist anymore. NTEP has come to play, ma'am.
Okay. So now how they are giving you? Tell me, daily ATT? Daily ATT?
I mean, fixed dose combinations they are giving daily, ma'am.
Daily.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Similarly, how many sputums examined? Before and all, 3 sputums will be given every day morning. Early morning sputum will be given 3 days consecutively. Nowadays, they do for 2 days, yes? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Only 2 days. Okay. So Anything else, not treatment? So you all should know what are the first line drugs, second line drugs, what is MDR-TB, what is HDR-TB, and the side effect or adverse effect of each ATT. Maybe we'll discuss tomorrow. That's all? Any more else? Anything, ma?
No, that's
all?
it, ma'am.
That's
Yes.
all. Okay, okay. Swarna, you presented nicely with
Thank
few
you.
corrections. Few corrections. Okay.
Yes,
Otherwise,
ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
presentation. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, who will be presenting?
Ma'am, I'll be presenting, ma'am, bronchiectasis case.
Who? Syed.
Syed Hafiz, ma'am.
Syed will present tomorrow. Okay. By sharp 9, we will start tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Right.
Sure,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Ma'am, I
much,
have a
ma'am.
doubt,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Everyone can leave.